The story of Elijah in the Bible is found in the Old Testament, primarily in the first and second books of Kings. Elijah was a significant prophet in ancient Israel during the reign of King Ahab, around the 9th century BC. His story is known for various miraculous events and his role in confronting idolatry and challenging the wickedness of the times. Elijah's introduction in the biblical narrative is sudden, and he is described as a prophet with a direct message from God. His prediction of a drought in Israel was indeed a divine judgment against the idolatry and wickedness that had become prevalent among the people and the leadership of the time, particularly under the rule of King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. This drought was a sign of God's displeasure and a call for the people to turn away from their idolatrous practices and return to the worship of the one true God. Elijah's role as a prophet was to convey this message and carry out God's will, which included confronting the spiritual and moral decline of the nation. During the drought, when there was a severe scarcity of food and water in the land, God instructed Elijah to go to a widow in the town of Zarephath. This widow was in a desperate situation, with only a small amount of flour and oil left, and she was preparing what she believed would be her last meal for herself and her son before they would face starvation. Elijah, upon arriving in Zarephath, asked the widow for some water and a morsel of bread. The widow, despite her dire circumstances, showed kindness to Elijah and offered him the little she had. In response to her act of faith and generosity, Elijah conveyed God's promise that her jar of flour and jug of oil would not run out until the drought ended. Miraculously, as long as Elijah stayed with the widow, her flour and oil never depleted. This was a profound demonstration of God's provision and his faithfulness to those who trust in him, even in times of extreme scarcity. One of the most famous events involving Elijah was his showdown with the prophets of the false god Baal. He challenged them to a contest on Mount Carmel to demonstrate whose deity was real. After the prophets of Baal failed to call down fire from heaven, Elijah prayed to God and fire descended from the sky, consuming his water-soaked altar, thereby establishing the supremacy of the God of Israel. After the victory on Mount Carmel, Queen Jezebel threatens to kill Elijah. Fearing for his life, Elijah fled into the wilderness to escape her wrath. In the wilderness, he had a profound encounter with God. Elijah expressed his weariness and frustration, but God reassured him and instructed him to anoint Elisha as his successor. This moment in the wilderness with God served to renew Elijah's strength and purpose, assuring him that his mission was not over and that God was still with him. It also marked the passing of the prophetic mantle to Elisha, who would continue Elijah's work as a powerful prophet in Israel. Elijah's ministry continued, and he followed God's instructions by anointing Elisha as his successor. Elisha became his loyal disciple and the designated heir to Elijah's prophetic role. They journeyed together, and as the time for Elijah's departure approached, they crossed the Jordan River together. As the legends go, in a remarkable and dramatic event, a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared, separating Elijah and Elisha. Elijah was taken up to heaven in a whirlwind, leaving behind his mantle, which symbolized his prophetic authority. Elisha picked up the mantle, signifying his assumption of Elijah's prophetic role and the continuation of the prophetic ministry. This event is a significant moment in the story of Elijah and marks his departure from this world. It also underscores the passing of the prophetic legacy to Elisha, who would carry on the work of God in Israel. To conclude, Elijah's story is significant in the Bible for several reasons. He is seen as a powerful prophet who stood up against idolatry, challenged the corrupt rulers of his time, and performed numerous miracles. His life and ministry symbolize the importance of faith, obedience to God, and the role of prophets in Old Testament history. So friends, that's all for today, and thank you for joining us. If you like our presentation, don't forget to like and subscribe our channel, Palette of the Past. But remember, these ancient myths hold timeless wisdom and continue to shape our understanding of human nature and the world around us.